and welcome to the first episode of the Max Earners Show with M&T. Now today, my name is DoubleDub, and I'm actually filling in for Tstols, who makes up the T of the M&T. So, a bit about myself first. I'm the current Amarillo co-GM. I was a second overall pick to Indy last season, and I'm in their war room. And joining me is Mike.
Hello, everybody. Good to join you here on the M&T, the Max Earners, with M&T, I believe is the official name we're going with for now. T is not here, as Dub mentioned. I'm very happy you're here, Dub. Stolzy is finishing up some stuff. Then he's not available for a couple of weeks, so we'll be happy to have him when he gets here for our Friday show. Here is our little YouTube conglomerate for the channel. For PB Rewind.
Yeah, it's good. It's kicking off this week, as we would have seen the PB recap earlier in the week, and now we're going to take you through a bit of a draft preview. This show as we lead up to the draft, which is actually should be happening tonight. So, starting with the draft, why don't we start with first overall? Who are we thinking for first overall for yourself, Mike?
So for me, and I guess before we start, I'll go into just a little bit of my credential. I'm a seasoned Majors GM of, I think it's 4 seasons. I just stepped down from leading the Cancun Toros. I've picked the number 1 overall pick, unfortunately, all of those seasons. And I've made multiple picks in the first round otherwise. I am a very seasoned minors GM as well. I've been in the seat that Dub has been in, although not with the same team, for I believe it is 8, could be 7, 8 season period, and I've been in war rooms for many seasons. So the future version of DoubleDub, I'm sure, is me basically. So for 1 overall, there's really 2 people. In the draft in general, I think there's 3 guys that I would call true blue chips. The green guys, blue guys, whatever color you want to use. I think they're the blues. I think there's 3 blues here. And I think there's about 16, maybe 15 other first-round grade guys. We might get to some of those later, but some of those that would miss the first round later. But with 18 or 19 guys I have first-round grades on, it's a deep draft. And in recent memory, they've been reasonably deep. It's kind of one year you have 19, 20 guys that go in round 1, then one year you have guys maybe 15, 16 going round 1, so reasonably deep drafts the last little while here in PBE. This one is no exception, but the top is 2 people. The first one of them is keep a secret, Evok. And look, the name just kind of says it all. It's Evok. The coves, Evok backwards, there's a legion of people who are good, loyal friends of Evok who name themselves and their backwards names, palindromes, whatever you want to call it. Well, not palindromes specifically, but the backwards names. They all kind of name themselves after Evok. So that person with that kind of influence, that kind of pull, is a very obvious candidate for 1 overall. The big question there is, if you're the team sitting at 1, does she want to play for you? Number 1. And number 2, is that the direction you want to go? The recreate, super safe, probably about the safest pick that you could make. If Evok was interested, it's probably about the safest pick you could make. Evok's an incredible user, has had some incredible players. Victoria's Secret, obviously, is the most famous run, but Kripakosov, I think, is a Hall of Fame caliber catcher. So you have that resume on Evok. The other candidate for 1 overall is Shohei Ohtani, Captain SB. No, this is not the real Shohei Ohtani. It's just a guy with his kind of potential, but in Sim League form. And I don't mean on the field. The thing with SB, and Dub is the guy. He went 2 last year. The big recreate went above him last season. The season before, Tstols went first, who's going to be the other co-host of mine on this show. He went first because Indy had decided they wanted to go with the new guy. They wanted to build the legion of the new users. Because as a rebuilder, it might be easier to get new guys to buy in to your plan than it is to get recreates to buy into the plan. That is what Captain does for you. honestly one of the highest potential people I've ever seen come through here. Even compared to Tstols and Dub and all of them, he is incredibly high potential. He is incredibly talkative. He is hyperactive. If you're grading these things out on a scouting board, I think you have to give him a triple plus for activity, not just the
Yes.
double plus. Like, this is triple plus activity. The earning potential is absolutely sky high. He's going to Supermax. I have pretty much no doubt about that.
I'm not sure if he sleeps.
Yeah, I really don't know if the guy sleeps. I agree with you, frankly. Look, there are probably 5 people that I think would threaten him for one in the league. There's probably 5 people that threaten him. And one of them happens to be in the draft. He's incredibly unlucky in that regard. But if he gets the 1 overall he deserves, he will be absolutely a deserving candidate of that. Now, that being said, Evok is too. But look, SB is an incredible prospect. If you want to do the real life terms, he is a generational prospect. I have him higher as a slam dunk prospect than I had Dub last year, or I had Tstols the year before.
I'd agree.
So this is an incredible prospect. And I know this is a bold statement, and I'm not saying the guy has told me that he wants to or anything. If he can get it, like pick it up and get it, this is the kind of guy that you see in head office running a team, and I don't mean GMing a team, I mean recruitment, stats, like that kind of team, that job team. This is that kind of guy that steps into the back end of the league within the next few seasons. Because if he gets it, and he understands how this works, and he understands that the work is put in, and he loves it, which it looks like the love is already there, this is the kind of guy that you go, wow, this guy from this team, hey, I know this guy because this guy mentored me, or this guy was my recruitment head that brought me in, or this guy gave me my first job, or whatever. There's so much here in influence that isn't yet there, and if you're the team sitting at 1, and you're looking at this guy, you're going, we could make this ours. We have we have the established influence, or we have the unlimited vacuum of future influence sitting here with SB. So I can't say enough about both of them. They are both absolutely fantastic. I think the top 2, top 3, wherever they go, picks in this draft are going to be absolute home runs. But if it was me picking, if it was me making the selection, I would take SB at 1. That's what I would do. Now, it's not really anything to do with Evok or any negatives. I just think SB's potential is so high. Like, that guy that you can make stick on your team forever. There's no previous relationships. It's just kind of, they are your team. They're the face of your team. I would take SB here. Again, nothing against Evok, but those are my top 2 prospects. Those are the 2 people that I think that you should look for when we get to the draft tonight at 1 overall.
Yeah, I agree with you, 100%. I think those 2 are definitely on that A+ level, A++ even. And I do agree that, I personally lean towards new creates. Could just be because I'm a recently new create as well, but I just think it's the infectious energy the captain brings to a lot of the projects that he dives into that makes him a really good prospect. So now we've had a bit of a chat about 1 overall. Do we want to break down a little bit of a mock draft, go through the draft order? So first overall is actually Seattle. Now, I think we know Seattle's in the middle of a rebuild. They've had a tough season. That's obviously the reason why they're at first overall. Seen a lot of established players move on for the last couple of years. Sloseko, Crocs out, that sort of thing. So looking at 1 overall, I think really you just take best available, right? And lucky for them, they're a bit thin on pitching prospects. So I think either Evok or captain could definitely be an option here. What do you think?
Yeah, so this pitcher either way because it's either Evoc or SB. So
Yep.
I have been told by my people, my sources. I have been told by my sources that Evoc is not interested in going back to Seattle. Or there was some, hey, I already did that. I don't know the reason. I've just been told that Seattle won't be, there's a likelihood that they do not take Evoc because there may not be mutual interest there. That being said,
Now,
I think the guy that I have mocked at 1, which is SB, I have Captain SB Shohei Ohtani, starting pitcher, mocked at 1 to Seattle. I think he fills their need because, look, they need a new face of the franchise. They need a new young face of the franchise. I think what we've seen from teams in recent seasons that lean new gen as a full rebuilder come out better and more profitable. And what you don't see when you do it the first time is if you have that belief in yourself and you have that belief in the team, you hope that you can inspire them and make them fall in love with the team enough where you can have them come back a second time. Like people want to go back to New York, DVS, or San Antonio. Like, you have these places that have these established relationships, Detroit, New Orleans. Guys go back there. That's what you want to build as a GM with a rebuilding team. You want to build a team that has a window in 8 seasons, but you also want to build a team that has a window in 16, 24, all those seasons going out, because you have guys who want to come back and they say, I want to play for this person. I want to play with this person. And I think SB provides the most of that. And this is a pretty shallow farm system. I think his potential head office in under 5 seasons. He is absolutely fantastic. This is a new rebuilding team with a potential top-tier GOAT-type user on the board. Easy 1 overall in the minds of Seattle with SB.
Yep, 100% agree. I think that SB probably looks like an absolute knockout for them right now. So, second overall, Boise. So, Boise, they landed Bauer in the trade during the season. That's going to cost them a couple of picks next year. Other than that, they've got some other pretty established prospects in the league. Mikkel with Papa Emeritus. My teammate that's going up after this season, Geronimo Ovechkin. But other than that, I mean, really, they're still in that position of being in a pretty deep rebuild. I think they could really go anywhere here. What sort of your take on that? You seeing the same thing?
So this has kind of been referred to amongst other rival GMs and rival war rooms as Team SHL. And really what it is in the end is Boise is a team that really values friendship and connection, I think, kind of over most else. I would say that this is an easy spot for Evoc here because I think they need that star pitcher with Kit coming down. They don't have that full roster of pitching prospects. But I think they might have to go there later because, and this is pretty well known, there is some definite heat between the people in that Boise, more specifically one person in the Boise front office, and Evoc from stuff from another league. It's reasonably well known at this point, and I have heard nothing that says that that is resolved. So you take the fact that you might take Evoc, you might upset things. And then you also have another guy in this draft, the guy I think goes at 2, which is SD Core, who's a former Hall of Fame user. He's doing a recreate. He's doing Steve, a.k.a. Speedy Gonzalez Jr. here. What he's doing in this draft is he's giving Boise that option to not go with Evoc and instead go to somebody really close to them. He is a proven max runner before. I've been told that he has taken his, he kind of left a little bit disgruntled, as many people do when they leave. It's just kind of how it is. He's taken his break. He's good. He's back. He wants to max earn again. So in that way, in that connection, it's what I think Boise does here. I think this should be, in other scenarios, I think it's Evoc, and you might say, well, how does Evoc fall to 3? Because of the team-specific scenario, I think the second pick is SD Core. I think this is an outfielder for the Boise Raptors.
Yeah, I think you've hit it on the head there. They definitely like someone that they have connections with, and I mean, when I first entered the league, I think SD Core was still on his break, but his player was still Caden Kalian was still catching for the Raptors, so could definitely see him heading back there. So third overall originally belonged to Cancun. You were part of this trade that sent, I believe it was a swap of picks this season between
Yep.
Cancun and Death Valley that landed Cancun the pick last year. That was fifth overall, which I turned to Ryan Knopp. So Detroit is actually picking third, and I mean they've come off a season where they're probably competing probably a season before they expected to. If I'm honest, I know when I was chatting to their GMs before last draft, they were saying that they're maybe 2 seasons away from competing again. But I mean, I think they're the big winners here. They're, from what you were saying, Evoc looks set to be a Scorpion.
Yeah, so with Death Valley here at 3, this is obvious, this is easy. Victoria's Secret played for them. Evoc is well known to have good connection to Person, Man, and Company over in Death Valley. This is easy. They get Keep a Secret at 3. They did exactly what they wanted to do with the Cancun trade. Cancun wanted to go up and get Nospace. DVS wanted a shot at Evoc. They got the shot at Evoc, and then they got lucky enough with the 2 teams in front of them. I bet my bottom dollar that this is Evoc at 3. Keep a Secret starting pitcher goes to DVS.
Yep. I think DVS going to be laughing all the way to the bank. They'll be running up there with that pick.
This one isn't a matter of positional need, by the way. This is just, you do this here. This is just what it is. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if they need an outfielder, infielder, pitcher. This doesn't matter. You do this no matter what.
Yep, 100%. 100%. I think, don't need to go too in depth with it. I think it's just the home run pick.
Now, before we go to Indy really quick, I just want to mention, I feel like that top 3 is reasonably easy to guess. I actually think 4 is a reasonably easy guess. When you get 5 and below is where I think the draft is going to be random. I am pretty darn sure that I have the top 3 right. I am also pretty sure I have 4 right, 5th on below. I wouldn't say I have no idea. I have some decent guesses, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was wrong on any individual pick, outside of probably one.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I think it's quite a deep draft in the sense that there's a lot of that first round talent knocking around. Probably enough that we'll get to it later, but we'll see a couple people slide into the second round who any other year wouldn't be there.
Right.
So moving on to Indy, I mean we've both ranked them as our second best farm system. I don't want to go too much in detail, but I think they were definitely probably looking infielder here. They've got some good outfield talent coming through with Nate Nitro, Adalbert Steiner, as well as Shark Hammer, who's already on the roster. What was your sort of thoughts from outside looking in?
The outside looking in for the Apex for this draft, I thought, okay, so Paz has done an incredible job drafting some of the assets that he took for 2 overall many seasons ago when the Toros took Jay Steele. He had an incredible draft where he got Tstols, he got Josh, he got Dynamic, he got Cornholio, that draft, and then, in the time since, he's had some incredible drafts back to back to back here, and I think that the guy has really figured it out. He's really turned it on. He's finally gotten some help, which seems to be really the thing that was missing from the Apex, was some help, a sense of a war room, some anything. So with Paz here, I think this is another spot where you go first gen. If you look at what he's been doing, Josh the Juicy exception, but he was a founder of the franchise, so it's kind of reasonable that you would pick him there, especially because they had 2 picks at the top of the draft. They took top recreate and top new create. So here at 4, this is the number 2 new gen that I have right below Captain. Eos Jenny, Amelia Milligan, a middle infielder, I think goes forth here to Indianapolis. This is what I have in my mock. Of the new gens that are not named Captain SB, I have Jenny at the top. I keep hearing really good things about this user. and Indy keeps drafting well and grabs Jenny here at 4, I think. And I have them as the second best farm system as well. We'll mention the farm system rankings of some of the teams. They will be up on the graphics you'll notice on your screen. They won't get mentioned with everybody. They'll just get mentioned with some.
Yep. And to tie it all into the Captain SB Evoc discussion, I'm pretty certain Jenny's actually working under Evoc in the banking team. So she's got that nice job there set up as well. So
yeah, banking's a great job. It's a high-paying job.
Yep.
It's also an easy job in the league. It's a great first job in the league for any new guys who may be watching this who will get taken in the minors draft later this week. Banker is a great job.
Yeah.
You should go for it if you see one.
Definitely, jobs are always good. Head offices are always looking at that. So now moving on to 5th overall. So this was Providence. I was lucky to share a locker room with Dust for a little bit. Now Providence have got the makings of their next run. Their next run to Providence. What's sort of wide open for them here? Sort of best of the rest. What are we thinking?
I think with Providence here, I think this is bat. GM player Dustin Potson, right? Like AK's older, but he's a batter. You could potentially see him go pitcher if/when he retires down the road. If you just look organizationally, I think there's a couple more pitching prospects right now than hitting prospects, and again, you need more hitters than pitchers. So, right, let me phrase that a different way. There's a couple less holes open pitching-wise than hitting-wise for their long term. I think this is a hitter now, and again, I kind of stressed this before I went to 4, but this is really where things get crazy. This could be many different things. I think there's like 4 different people that can go here, but for Providence at 5, I have Manuel Bang, who is Lee for third baseman. Basically, the reason he's their former co-GM, he has heavy ties to the current front office. He has heavy ties to the team. I think that they stay safe and go Leafer. If they wanted to go more aggressive, you could maybe see Mojito go here, Jiggy go here. I think Daylight is a reach, but again, if you were exclusively thinking new gen, for whatever reason, there's that. If you wanted to go an old friend of the team that is their 2, there is Loki, who played for Providence for many seasons. There's a few different things they could do, but I think that you take Leafer here. If he doesn't go here, Leafer could go in round 2. This is one of the guys that I think could go in the second round, but I do, and again, should speak to the depth of the draft, that I think a guy that I have at 5 could wind up in round 2. If he doesn't go to Providence, you could see him slide down the board, because when you're doing 1As and 1Bs, it's just about scouting conversation, and those relationships play in negatively in the player's favor sometimes when teams go, look, this guy has such strong connection to them, I'm scared he leaves for them. If they don't hear, yes, I'll stay with you in the scouting conversation. So that could ward if there's a, hey, I was loyal in XYZ career, I ran a team, so I was tied to a team in XYZ career, I want to experience for agency, I want to experience XYZ. It could scare them off. He's just trying to go back to where he was earlier in his career. And Providence, a place he's landed in a couple times, I think he goes back in the draft at 5.
Yep. Yeah, I personally would have tabbed low-key for here, but that's being a little bit more of a newer user in the PBE, knowing that Loki's previous player played for Providence for a while. Could see Mo Love joining them there. But yeah, as you were saying, Leaf would be a great choice. So, 6 overall, Buffalo. So they're in a tough division, let's be real. That's a tough division up there. Bit of a step back, just missed the playoffs this season. Bit of a thin farm system. I mean, I think they've got 1 prospect there at the moment. Javier Boulevard went up. I believe it's De'Aaron Taylor. I think they could go anywhere. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so they took De'Aaron Taylor. They took Poodle last year. I mean, look, I think this is another bat. Senna's getting up there in age. They have a few older bats. And I think that they do older pitchers, even though Deli is old. Schramm's player is a bit old, but I feel like the bat is just a little bit more pressing need for them, although they could go pitcher if they really, really wanted to. I think this is also, I tend to say from a team perspective that this is the first spot that you could see a trade down. But actually knowing what Buffalo's tendency has been, I'm pretty sure that this is a pick. I have Mo Love, second baseman, the user low-key, going here to Buffalo. And let me explain why. Because you might go, well, Loki just played for their division rival for many years. Why would he go there? What Buffalo has been doing, they have a reasonable mix of older guys and newer guys. They just took Pluto, who had been in the league before last year. They're kind of a mashup. They didn't really go lean heavy, and Indy is a team that leaned heavy toward the new gen. San Antonio is a team that leans heavy toward the old gen, the second gen, the third gen. So here on this pick with Buffalo, I think they go a little bit safer, and the recreate is just kind of naturally safer in this league. That's just how things work here. They feel like more of a for sure thing, and Loki on his third player feels a lot safer than maybe anything else to them. So I have this as Mo Love. It'll be a nice piece for them going forward in the hitting core. I assume that this is a pick for him to play third. If he's willing to play third, I think that this is their selection.
Yeah, I like that. I think you're right there with definitely the heart of their lineup starting to get a little bit older. Could use a little bit of freshness in there. I think with Toussaint and Hooper still being relatively young, not hitting regression yet, could probably wait to take a picture. But hey, if they have a good conversation with someone, they could go either way.
Yep.
So Maui at 7. Now Maui's team that took a step forward this year, definitely. Winning record, just missed the playoffs. We're in it right up until that last sim week. Getting some, nice prospects coming up with Nerdy, who's GMing in the minors. His player Jeff Lewis will be on the way up soon. What do we think? I think they could go anywhere.
Maui's farm system is pretty flush. Repnar is incredibly young. Psyduck, Nergy is incredibly young. They have so many. Look, the only thing that Maui shouldn't do is draft a middle infielder. Okay, they have so many of them. They have a ton of them. Even if you look at the team and you go, okay, look, Lumosity fan has been here through a lot of this. They hope they can make the playoffs a couple times with I'm blanking on the player name. I apologize. They hope that they can make it a couple times with Lumo there, with Jeff Newman there, but they got it. They're probably going to have to get rid of him with the new cap and salary regulations that are coming. They may have to, or salary regulations, I should say, that put a strain on the cap. May have to get rid of an aging player there in a couple seasons when the contract is up. So maybe the middle infield's not an issue because that spot is not occupied by Lumo past 2-3 seasons in the future whenever that deal is up. Even then, they still have a lot of middle infield talent. So as long as this isn't a middle infielder, I will not be surprised. However, this, my friend, is where I think we got our first monkey wrench thrown in. We had a lot of trades in the first round last year. I think that this year won't see as much activity, but I do think there is some, and I think this is the first place of activity. I think Cancun comes up to 7 here. I have a mock trade. Cancun comes up with Maui. I'll explain why Maui should do this in a second. First, I think that this trade, what it would look like if it happened, Maui would get the 15th overall selection in this year's draft, the 2042 New York first. It could be, I don't think it's the Boise first, it could be the 2041 New York first, but Maui could in the future here go 42. So the 2042 New York first, 15 overall, and New York will have a lot, Cancun will have a lot of cap space next year, maybe $1 million or $2 million in cap space as well. Going to the side of Maui, Cancun gets 7. Why I think Maui should do this. Maui is flush with prospects right now. They have a ton of young talent right now. You don't really have room to fit in a 7th overall pick somewhere. At that point, you'll have too many guys. If you trade basically out for futures, what you'll do is you will delay this selection till a few years down the road when you'll have more open spaces. If you do actually choose to let go of Lumo and then Nergy is ready, well, you might need the shortstop behind him. So then you can do that. Or the pitching's a little older, Rabbit's player's a little older, you want to get that 4th starter for the year that Rabbit is at 1,800, you can do that. I think trading out, or at least down and getting futures, is the smartest thing Maui can do. So like I said, I have an idea that Cancun comes up here. Why would Cancun come up? When I stepped down, I was traded to New York for a couple of picks, and with that being said, Cancun is going to have to get a center fielder. So when day 1 of the offseason opens, the center fielder is gone. Their long-term center fielder, James Thyan, is out, 1,100 TPE off the board. That hole needs to get filled as quickly as possible, and because I was there the whole year, I know for a fact that Twitchy, who is going to be GMing in a solo capacity, a duo capacity, no idea what will happen for the draft. But, there's one consistency. Twitchy is going to run the draft. It's just, does he have that next general manager, that next person to work with him in time for it? If it's just Twitchy, I know what he's going to do. If he comes up for this pick, it would be Jiggy Bartholomew Brown, the center fielder. He loves Jiggy. There was a really good conversation. He was one of the very few people that I talked to that was in this class, because things got super hectic for me, and I didn't wind up scouting much before I stepped down. I had a really good conversation with him. I think he's got a really bright future. So, again, all of that stuff, suffice to say, I think there's a really good chance that Cancun comes up with the plethora of assets that they have in the future to try and get the James Thyan replacement in the door as quickly as possible. Jiggy is the perfect candidate here because it's a new gen, and Cancun does like the new gens for the most part, unless it's people with really close ties to the team. And again, for Maui, I think it makes sense because they have a dearth of prospects right now. If you push it out just a little bit, you could, instead of overdrafting positions and overfilling the team, you could make sure you have a nice steady conveyor belt. So, all that said, just to clarify, 7, I have a mock trade with Maui and Cancun. 15, another first and some cap goes to Maui. 7 goes to Cancun, and Cancun selects Bartholomew Brown. I'd love to hear what you think happens here, Dub.
I love Bartholomew Brown as well. I think he's a great user, Jiggy. He was actually one that I scouted when I was just in the war room with Amarillo, and man, it sucked that we didn't have a first rounder last year to go and get him. I think there's definitely a chance of a trade, as you were saying, Maui, and also sort of push back that they're going to be good anyway with their prospects coming through. It's that next wave to come and reinforce them well. They're Jeff Newmans and they're, sort of the older players. Hayden Andrews start to filter out of the team. So I do like the idea of a trade here. I think it makes a lot of sense. Whether they go that way, we'll have a look. But as you said, I think whether they decide to stay pat or trade, I think they're in a pretty good spot.
I will say, if they stay, I think that this is a spot. I don't think they should draft middle infield. I think if they stay, Master Sheep could go here. It'd be a pitcher. But again, like I said, they got a lot of pitching prospects. I think it's a really weird fit for them to take someone here. It's kind of odd to say.
Yep.
I think it's a weird fit to take a player. Maybe this is Mojito. Maybe this is just Jiggy, but to Maui. But I think, I feel that they will and should trade out. We've seen Rabbit, who's been active on the trade market the last couple of years, toward the bottom of round 1 and into round 2. I think he makes a big one here.
I was going to say they're not afraid to pull a trade. They pulled Martin Honda across from Boise before, right on the 11th hour of the season this year. So I could definitely see them being active on the trade market again, which kicks us over to their division rival, who kept them out of the playoffs. San Antonio slots at 8, and they actually also hold Vancouver's pick at number 9. So who do we think the slots go here back to back? I think definitely an aging roster. They actually dipped into free agency last season for the first time, and I can't remember the actual
20 seasons
number of
or
seasons.
whatever it was. It was something ludicrous.
Yeah.
Look, San Antonio's an old team. This is a very old team. You might see them start melding into the dirt this season. No, but seriously, with San Antonio, you have back-to-back picks. There's a plethora of first-round quality people. I think that you go a bat and an arm. So with the bat at 8, I have them going. I'm not going to try and pronounce the first name, Cove. It's Crazy Mojito backwards.
Yep.
Crazy Mojito I have going here. Really good prospect. Had a good conversation with them. Heavy into the SHL, an updater over there. You hope that they get the updater job here, perhaps. There's plenty of people who are cross-league updaters. They update one, they update the other, because it's a job they can do and they like. So there's perhaps something that, okay, hey, this guy has a lead to a job, and the PB pretty much always needs updaters. So Mojito goes here at 8. Now, that being said, I do think that there's a chance that it is a recreate pick here, especially if a Leafer or something does wind up falling, because Juwosu really likes to go with recreate. So that's 8. I think it's Mojito. Could be recreate. Wouldn't be surprised, but I think a first-time great in the PBE, Crazy Mojito, would be good here. And then at 9, I have them going with Master Sheep. Master Sheep, a pitcher, Krispy Kreme. This is the best player available left at this point. This is the best pitcher available left at this point. And for a farm system that I have ranked very, very low, I believe I have them at 15. I think this is a team who desperately needs one of both. They have the picks and the positioning to get both. And I think they do here, in Master Sheep at this point in the draft will be the obvious BPA best player available pick.
Yeah, I agree. Master Sheep, great user. Trevor Duncan, his previous player, was a extremely high earner. Played center field for Luna Base. I think, as you said, they could go in a couple of different directions here. I think they do go pitcher hitter. No, one pitcher, one hitter, but we'll see where it goes. And to touch on Vancouver quickly, whose pick it was, another season without a first round pick for them. Their farm system's starting to look a little bit light.
Yeah, they have my worst farm system. They're pretty much dead in the water. They have to win the title next year, or the window is over, and that thing needs to get nuked. There's no other way I'm sorry. There's no other way to say it. They don't win the championship next year. The window's over. That roster's old. It's aging out. You got to get assets back immediately.
Yeah. Marvel and Mitchell, both season 29 players. Scudder's season 30. Reggie Shrub, season 28. That's Stan Dupp is retiring. I mean, it's going to be tough for them. So that takes us to pick 10, which should have been New Orleans, but they've actually gone over the... Is it over the hard cap, is it?
So they've gone into penalty 4, how that works. So they're over, they're between 127.5 and 130 at the end of the year. They were at 128.3, so they lose their first round pick. Unfortunate for New Orleans, who could really use some prospects, but they went for it again this year. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for them. Yeah,
they went hard. They had Houston Hayes, who went across to Seattle when, I'm forgetting the user's name now, took the Seattle GM job with Jimbo.
Is the name you're looking for.
That's the one. And they went hard. Unfortunately, they fell short in a season where they sort of got OTP'd a little bit. Eddie Garr went from MVP to hitting about 240.
Yep.
But I mean, they could have really used the pick, but unfortunately not, and they might see a little bit of a retooling, rebuilding period here.
Yeah,
as WR also retires.
They're not quite as bad as Vancouver is off.
No.
Torrent and Erickson are 33. Toll is 33. Forbes, who they got in the deal that sent Mushu to Seattle, is 34. They're not nearly as rough a shape as Vancouver is, but they might need to retool sooner rather than later, and this pick would have been really good to have. So, not them at 10. So you will still see it as 11 on the draft board, by the way, even though it's technically the 10th pick, if that makes sense to you. Kind of like in the NFL draft this year, how the Steelers pick was 32 because the Dolphins had a pick that got taken away from them in the first round. So This is pick 10, but it will show up on the board as 11 overall for Nashville.
Yeah, and so owned by the Nashville Stars. To break the fourth wall a little bit, they've just completed a reverse sweep of Luna Base yesterday to make it to the World Series from a 4 seed. So, I mean, from here, they've got... I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Their pitching, in particular their relief pitching, was very low TPE this season. They're probably pretty lucky to sneak into the playoffs. Because of this, does that lead them anywhere with this pick?
Yeah, so I think this leads to them, and I guess that should be said that we are taping this. Well before the draft is streamed, even though this will be coming out on draft day here. Thank you very much to our team. I just want to do this real quick. DoubleDub, myself. God, I hope I say your name right, sir. Alikh. Thank you very much, our editor. But so back to the draft. Nashville with this pick, this is pitcher. I'm fairly certain. If you want to go new gen, you take Tommy Vanderhoeken here. But I think they go recreate, and this is X3, Kelvin Gausman, and Tristan had Tristan Leung before. He had an incredibly successful player. I'm forgetting the name of his second player. It was a hitter. I'm struggling to hang on to the name right now. But at this point in the draft at 11, there's 8, maybe 9 guys left that are first round quality. Remember I said there's probably 18, maybe 19 people, depending on how you feel about certain guys, that were first round quality. So if you're in the Nashville War Room and this is how the board shakes out, down to you, this is the question. Out of Flamethrower Meta, Jerry Riggs, Adam Hangman, Tommy Vanderhoekman, and Kelvin Gausman, where do you have these 5? I think that Nashville will have Gausman on the top of the list and take him here at 11.
Yep, so I'm going to use a little bit of inside information here. I don't think we've had Kamuro come off the board yet, but I know there's a member of the Nashville War Room, Bazooka Joe, who loves Kamuro. Maybe he can get in a few years. I think they could be an option here. But yeah, I think pitch is definitely where they need to be looking, because if they can just get some active arms in that pen, and then eventually filter through into the starting rotation when the likes of Parker Parton, regress, I think they're in good stead. I think it's a roster that's going to be competitive still for a couple of years.
Yeah, and they've been competitive for a very long time. They know how to do this, and I think that with Parker Parton getting close to age here, they need to get that replacement. They have Ziegel, who should come up into the bullpen, if he's not already, very soon. Though he's just drafted last year, I'm fairly certain he was still in state college. But look, with him coming up, okay, yeah, sure, you're going to have him, but you're going to need a frontline starter for the future. You're going to need it very soon. And if you look at the starters that are left at this point, this is where I think that you have, okay, I got 5 I got to pick from. I'm going to go with Trey.
Yeah. Yep. So that would lead into New York's pick. So your new team now?
Yep, my new team, the Voyagers. Pitcher.
Yep.
Easy. Definitely.
Yeah.
The starters are kind of lower TPE anyway, and then you have the fact that Evil Dictator is aging out. Starter is pretty much the number 1 position in need. This is the only pick that the Voyagers can make. And at this point, look, It is no secret that Enoch ran the Hepcats for a long time, and he is still very much down there. He is still very active in their locker room. Swaggy Eagle last year is a guy that Enoch talked to daily in the Kansas City locker room and then wound up taking him in the draft. That's working out great so far. I think this is another Hepcat to the Voyagers here. Because of that connection, because of his activity there, it's Jocelyn, Tommy Vanderhoeken, second in the class right now for starters in TPE. $42 million to the name as of recording is what we have here. Sixth highest net worth among the pitchers in the class. Money-wise, I think this is a good pick here. Again, that connection, that staying power type connection that the Voyagers and Enoch very specifically has with the Hepcats. My note on this is Hepcat plus Enoch plus War Room as first year equals money. Yet another great locker room presence, arm talent that Enoch will have seen giving KCH. And look, there's going to be questions about the max earned potential here. But that's just kind of how it is at the bottom of the first round. It's not and by questions I mean it's not oh my God, Vanderhoeken has 15 league jobs. Of course they're going to be, there's always some element of risk. There's going to be some pick around here that's going to be a bust, right? Like once you get below 10 in any draft, nothing is certain. So
Yep.
I think Vanderhoeken, there's a reason, there's a tie there. There's a reason for Vanderhoeken to stay. A very happy Hepcat with somebody that they will have seen go, oh, okay, I see this person here. Now, they're kind of in charge of me in another place. Oh, yeah, this is cool. Those minor war room or just minors locker room connections are very important and come in incredibly great use. So this is somebody that Enoch knows better than a lot of people in the draft as far as the recreates, the new gen side of things goes. That's why I think that this is Vanderhoeken.
Yeah, I love it. I thought Tommy Vanderhoeken was a great prospect last season when we were doing a bit of scouting. So I think that'd make a fine prospect there. And yeah, I'm seeing the ace of my rotation this season going up. So Patey will be heading up there. So just another arm to fill into that farm system that Enoch does so well to cultivate.
Yeah, and again, Jocelyn was a very highly regarded new gen in the minors draft last year, and then the other person that has not gone yet, Acoustic, who is the other really highly regarded, wow, look at this, that wasn't named SB as far as the true new gens go, pitchers. Has not gone yet. I think could also go here, I should say. I've kind of mentioned maybe there's other options here. This could also be Adam Hangman. It's just going to depend on how the scouting conversation was between the two. I don't think that this is recreate. Enoch likes to go new gen or somebody with heavy New York connection.
Yeah,
it's a pitcher. We know it's what it has to be. A pitcher. The person with heavy New York connection isn't there.
No.
So it's either Aku or Jocelyn in my mind. I think it is Jocelyn.
Yep. Which brings us to Detroit. Now, a season ago, they lost game 109 to Luna Base, missed out on the playoffs, but they bounced back strong this season. They fought. It was really a three-way fight for that division all the way down the back end. Luna Base came out on top, won the division, but Detroit took the first wild card. They've got some aging prospects there. DJC's getting a little bit older. Quinton O'Quarter's getting a little bit older, as well as Halverson behind the dish. Where do we look?
So last year they got Dogwood Maple at 7, and I am very close with Taco Shop. He is a good friend of mine. He couldn't believe that he got Dogwood at 7.
No, Dogwood at 7 was a steal.
Absolutely could not believe it. He was over the moon. I think he's going to be in that position again because he gets subby. Glaber Torres, I guess, not Torres. It's Tourrizz. So he gets Subby here. Subby's last player, Barry Bonds, was a demon for life. did not leave the team at any point. So a drafted and retired Detroit Demon, I think that they just go right back to the well. There's nothing else.
Come home.
There's nothing else that is smarter here. This is the one catcher in the draft. I think Detroit needs a catcher. This is a very easy pick. This is the other pick that I was really confident about. I said, I'm pretty damn sure the top 3 is right. I am pretty sure that 4 is right. This is the other pick that I am pretty sure is right. You can take this one to the bank, I think.
I agree with you. I mean, his previous player is scattered all along that Detroit, history on boards, stolen bases, hits, RBIs, you name it. I think that's pretty locked in there. So Lunar Base of 14. This is one I could see traded, if I'm honest. I think Lunar Base have a really strong roster. They've set themselves up well now. They won close to 70 games this season, and I mean, if not, maybe they look hitter. If I'm honest, they look pitcher. Sorry. What are you thinking?
So I think this is a very interesting spot. So a little bit of spoiler. I don't have him going in the first round. I have him going right now at 17. But this is, I think, if Seattle has the want to do this, all bets on James, who's the GM of the Sea Serpents, was friends and teammates with D. Parm, who in this class is Jerry Riggs. On his last player, they were teammates in Indy for a long time. If the other pitcher pick, I don't think Lunar Base is pitcher. I think they're hitter. I think they have a ton of pitching that is young enough now where you go, okay, I don't necessarily need the replacement here. I need to wait a couple of seasons before I take another one. I think this is hitter. I think the next pick, whether it's Cancun or Maui, is a hitter. If they think that Outer Banks is going Riggs, I think you could see Seattle take some probably cap space, because let's face it, they're going to have plenty of it, and Lunar Base is going to need it with all the players that they have. I think this is a place where you could see 17 and some cap space come up, and Seattle could take Riggs. That being said, I don't have that happening. I have Lunar Base sticking here, although I think the phone call gets made. In this case, the Discord DM. I think the question gets asked, but I think Lunar Base turns it down. They go, dude, man, Jake Silliams. Silliams is a guy who could go in the top 10. He could go in the top 7. Or he could fall all the way down here to 14, almost said 15, down to 14. This is best player available at this point, and I'm going to go with, at 14, dude, man, Jake Silliams, second base.
I love it. I think that he's another one that I've heard fell a little bit out of love with the PBE, but dude, man, he's back now. I've heard that he's pretty active in that Succeeds locker room and war room, so I could definitely see him going here with Lunar Base, or earlier, as you said, definitely. So give me 2 picks here for 15. So we've got Cancun, who, I think we both say it's pretty obvious number one farm system.
Yep.
So give me 2 picks. Give me one for Cancun, and give me one if Maui makes that trade.
I'll do you better. I'll only give you one because it's the same player either way.
Okay, even easier.
If Maui comes down to 15, like I think they will, or should, however you want to put it, if Maui comes down to 15, you can't take a middle infielder. The best bat available is a corner, so that checks the box, and you go with Leo Livid Daylight at third. Good prospect for the Hepcats. By this point, it should be public, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. I am going to count on the editor to edit this out if it isn't. He just got named the co-GM for the Hepcats very recently, so huge job, money earning, front office, all that stuff. Fantastic pick here. Absolutely over the moon that he's still here. If it's Maui, if it's Cancun, the same thing applies, but even stronger, because Twitchy is the former GM of the Hepcats. He is still intimately involved, and they go back to the Hepcat well again, like they have so many times before. the Twitchy Recreate, Lauren Jackson played there. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt played there. I played there on James Stein. There's a bunch of Hepcats that have come up to that system. Ike Sampson's another one. Huge ties between Cancun and Kansas City for so many reasons, and this is yet another. If Cancun stays, it's Leo Livid. If Maui is here, it's Leo Livid. This is the best player available left at 15.
Yep. Another new crate that we were super impressed with at Amarillo. I think now, and that was before we found out we have a GM job, you know what I mean? I think this is a knockout pick there for either of them, and I think this is sort of one that I do agree that, you could sort of skip past a couple of those names there, such as, Jerry Riggs we talked about, Subby we talked about, and sort of whoever's there, whoever picks him up, just sort of, take that one to the bank. Absolute steal. So that brings us last pick. So best record in the regular season, Outer Banks. Maybe, if I'm honest, it's a stronger farm system than I was expecting from a team that is probably lights out. I'd say they're a pretty obvious number one team in the PBE at the moment. I think here maybe it's pitcher, just looking at their prospects.
Yeah, you can't say enough about what Bailey did for this team, taking over in the situation he was, running the team basically alone for so many years, then getting a W back as co to help with the team, and then they have done a terrific job drafting together. This, to me, is reasonably obvious pitcher here. They already have a ton of people with this same kind of name. I have a good feeling. I mean, it's kind of hard to not hit off in a conversation with Bailey, quite frankly. But I think that if the War Room likes it and if Bailey likes it, this is where you see Acoustic Adam Hangman go, a very solid starter prospect, a high pick in the minors draft. A lot of people really like them. $21 million in the bank account. Again, that information's on the screen for all of them, but we mentioned it a few select places. I think that Hangman here is best player available, and more importantly, for OBX, best pitcher available. But again, Riggs is here at this point. In my mock, I think he could go right after either to Indy or Seattle. I think it's most likely Seattle. Maybe OBX decide for whatever reason that they'd rather go recreate with Riggs. There you go. Camp and Killer is in many other leagues, so is Bailey. Maybe they have an outside connection that we don't know about, and they go Flamethrower Meta, who is Camp and Killer's player, here at 16. There's a few different things that they could do here. It's pitcher either way. Whoever it is, it's pitcher. I have three options left. I have Acoustic is the best, and the one that I think Outer Banks would like the best.
Yeah, I mean, Acoustic's another one. I think that this last draft had a bunch of really good new creates. Maybe not new to sim leagues, but definitely new to the PBE. That was just great. I think Adam Hangman would be a good pick here for Outer Banks. Add to that already pretty sizable farm system. I'm sure they'll add a bunch of picks in the 8th round when they're the only one picking, like normal. But yeah, I think it's definitely a good pick here. So that brings us to the end of the first round. Anyone else you think could have snuck into that first round? Any other prospects?
So the people that I had, that the others that I think very easily could go into the first round, obviously I mentioned a couple times. I think Camp and Killer and DP420, aka DParm. I think Jerry Riggs and Flamethrower Meta. One of them could easily go here to New York, Nashville, or Outer Banks. Again, where do you have out of those 5 guys, those 5 or 6 people, the pitchers that are below Evok and Captain SB? Where do you have them ranked on your board internally? Who do you like the best as a fit in your locker room, your war room, whatever? I think that 17, bonus pick, I think 17, if he makes it that far, is Riggs to an old friend in Jimbo. Gumlin is a person that I think is a really interesting look. Gumlin, I've heard really good stuff about. I've been impressed by them so far. A really good one in Florida. Parco, one of their general managers, a lot of influence in the league. Nerji, the other general manager, is big in Maui, obviously, and they have a pick that I think is a hitter at the bottom of the first round. Maybe he goes there. Cal Pico, the player named there. Now, here's the issue. He only has $7 million to his name right now, but he can play across any spot in the outfield, which would be very valuable, perhaps, to the Maui team. If they don't go corner infield, they could go outfield there. I think that the other one, not pitcher, Gumland, who could possibly, they're on that fringe. They're not
Yeah, I
a
agree.
guaranteed round one, but they're not a round two pick. They're right tilting on the edge. I think there's three more people, one batter, two pitchers. The people that pick there in those three top picks in the first round, and I think this is where we see a lot of action. By the way, if Seattle has already come up, 17 is going to stay. Seattle could stay at 17 anyway, or they could trade down, whatever. I think there's a lot of action around the top of that second round and just in this second round in general.
Definitely. And we've got a lot of GMs. I think there's 3 GMs in the minor league draft, so possibly looking at swapping some second round picks around for next year to get the most value out of that. Yeah, I think could definitely see some action there with the amount of cap penalties in the second and third round, definitely.
Yeah, and that's the other
Any
thing. With the cap penalty, so just real quick, with the cap penalties the way they are, there's a bunch of 2s and a bunch of 3s that are eliminated. There's going to be higher value, not first round value, but there's going to be reasonably high value people in the third round, and don't be surprised if, because there's so few picks in rounds 2 or 3 because of cap penalties, don't be surprised if you go there in a few years and you see, wow, X was picked in the third round. Well, how did that happen? Well, cap penalties is why.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even take away the one from the first round, could be getting picked in the fourth round, and really it's a late second or an early third. I think that's pretty much wrapping it up. Any other thoughts here? Anything else you want to comment on about the draft?
No, look, I think it's going to be a good draft. I really hope everybody's excited for it. This is a great time. This is one of the best days for the league because it's one of our most exciting events. It's draft day. That's awesome. It's great to have, and we're so happy to have all the players here. This is a lot of fun to do every year. All the mocks that come out, all the rookies that take their guesses and have some guy that I think goes at 16 go first overall, not even because it's them, but because it's a friend of theirs, or they're only looking at the TPE. They don't know all the back-end connections and all that stuff. It's all fantastic. And one thing I want to say, to glean from this, if you're a new person, the TPE doesn't matter. It does. But at the same time, what matters more than the sheer TPE, because look, there's a lot of people who max earn, or who will max earn, or who will get to 1600 or 1900 in that range. There's a lot of people who will do that. But the important thing is, how will you fit in a team's culture? How will you fit in a team's locker room? And how will you fit in the league in general? Or how have you fit in the league with the people on the team? Is there a person in the war room who will not play with this person? Is there a person in the war room who's going to sit there and vouch and chew their GM's ear off to get this person? It's the relationships that is the most important thing during the draft, or what you think you can make out of relationships and new relationships in the draft.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough as well. I think even if it's just scouting, just during scouting, be open, ask questions about them. I just took it as a chance to quiz every GM about where they saw their team next season and different plays and that sort of thing. Yeah,
well,
it's been
actually,
great.
if you want to break the fourth wall, you want to do that thing real quick. Everybody should do
I'd
that.
love to.
All the people that are in a shout of my voice who are in the majors draft next year that are new gens, do that, and you will get yourself taking the picks higher than you would have before. People love that. The GMs love that because it says that you have interest and you care, and it's a two-way street to you. It's not just, I get my home, whatever. You care about the home and where you want to go. it's one of those indicators. That is definitely something that I would do. Talk to the GMs. Don't just, don't just say you have no questions. Just try and come up with one. Even if it's about their favorite baseball team from the MLB. Again, to break the fourth wall here, that's definitely something I would do.
Yep. Also, if you're young, do that in job interviews. I guarantee you. That's where it comes from. With that, that's the end of our little mock draft here. So this show here, Max Earners of M&T, it's going to be on every week. Today is on a Thursday just because the draft is tonight. Normally it's going to be on a Friday, so it's going to fit right into that day that we all hate, which is the off day during the sim week. Next week, probably back with Stolzy and Mike will be leading the ship. So until then, hope you have a great week. Any last words from you, Mike?
Everybody have a good week. We will see you next week. I look forward to this being an every Friday adventure with me and Tstols. The format may change a little bit. This is a mock draft, so it's a bit more rigid. We hope it's kind of more of a fun debate show in the coming weeks, just to kind of give you an inside preview into what we're looking to do here. Thank you very much to DoubleDub, producer and writer of the show, myself hosting the show, co-hosting the show, however you want to say it. And Alikh, who has agreed to edit this for us. Thank you very much, sir. Sarah Posting, I also believe, is going to make the intro for this, so thank you very much to Sarah for the graphical and video assistance. Everybody have a good day, good night, and good luck.